To order the Planning Commission for Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. And may we have a roll call?
Chair Lowe,
Here.
Vice Chair Quilty, absent Commissioner Andre,
Here.
Commissioner DeBolt,
Here.
Commissioner Gross,
Here.
Commissioner Stolfikanik,
Here.
and Commissioner Zelmer.
Here.
Thank you. May we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So oral communications. At this time, any individual in the audience may address the Planning Commission and speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. Please state if you'd wish to speak on any of the agenda items. Remarks are not to be limited to more than 5 minutes. Does anybody want to speak in general? Not something on the agenda? Okay, seeing none. We'll move to the consent calendar. We have one item to approve the minutes of the regular meeting for September 27th, 2023. Any discussion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we have two public hearing items tonight, and I thought we'd start off with item 6B and do item 6B first, and then we'll come back to item 6A.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you,
Okay.
Chair Lowe and members of the Planning Commission. So as you recall from our last meeting, we're here to discuss or basically make a motion to hear the resolution, which is for to adopt recommending the City Council zoning ordinance amendment concerning noise standard exemptions associated with construction and property maintenance activities. And as you can see in your packet, the two recommended changes from the last meeting that last month's meeting, we implemented that. So as you can see in the packet, the resolution will basically read as Chapter 17.20 of the Los Alamitos Municipal Code includes noise standards intended to prohibit the generation of excessive noise. Paragraphs D and E of LAMC Section 17.20.020 includes noise standard exemptions for noise sources associated with certain construction and maintenance activities on real property, subject to specified limitations. Whereas on July 26, 2023, the Planning Commission reviewed and discussed the LAMC Section 17.20.020 noise standard exemptions and determined that the distinction between construction in paragraph D and maintenance in paragraph E of LAMC section 17.20.020 is unclear. Whereas on September 27, 2023, following further discussion and deliberation, the Planning Commission directed staff to draft a resolution recommending to the City Council adoption of an ordinance amending the LAMC section 17.20.020 to clarify the language and resolve the ambiguity between the noise standard exemptions for construction and property maintenance activities. Whereas on October 25th, 2023, the Planning Commission held a duly noticed public hearing concerning the proposed amendment, and whereas the Planning Commission considered all applicable staff reports and public testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing. So all of that to say that we're here to hopefully answer any questions, last-minute questions. If there's anybody any comments from the public, this would be the moment.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I'll open this up to the public. If anybody would like to speak on this item, you're welcome to. I'll keep it open. Commissioners, any discussion? Any questions of staff?
Move approval.
I have just a quick one. Just I was noticing on the other agenda item and the conditions, it talks about hours of construction in that. And I was just wondering, I think that's kind of typical of projects, right, to speak to hours of construction. How about just in general with permits? When you pull a building permit to do something very simple, Is it also stated in there as far as hours of construction?
No, it's not.
Not, so something on, something, a bigger,
Follow the regular code at that point.
gotcha.
Yeah, I bet the building department tells people, but they don't, right?
Yeah.
It's not written anywhere other than in the code.
I was just curious, because when someone says you can't do construction on, that's not correct, you know what I mean? I just wanted to see if it pertained to permits, as well, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Just to kind of piggyback on Tom's comment, if it's a business or commercial location, yes, there is there's a little bit more express direction as to what they can and can't do.
Okay.
On a residential, perhaps not as much, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But that's where it's nice to have our code enforcement team that can identify the two and distinguish the two types.
Gotcha. Okay.
Need a
Um,
motion on that? I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Commissioner DeBolt made the motion to approve. Commissioner Gross seconded it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes.
I'm opposed.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had,
Just
1,
for
2,
the
3,
record.
4. Yeah,
Still pass.
yeah, no problem. So, that was quicker than I thought it was gonna be. Anyway, so we'll go back to item 6A right now. Item 6A is a public hearing for a site development permit SDP 23-01 for a 3-story, 4-unit multifamily residential project. I'll open it up to staff.
The applicant is, was that, oh, you're near,
I was gonna
Okay,
recuse
recuse myself.
myself.
right.
Commissioner Gross will recuse herself.
The applicant is not here tonight
Okay.
yet. They were coming, but the property owner is here. I don't know if he's prepared to speak, if you have any questions.
Okay.
I don't have any idea what's in
Right.
the plans, I don't have the plans or anything.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, should we go on?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, it's agendized, so we probably should just go on and, so, would you like to do a staff report or? Okay.
Chair Low and members of the Planning Commission, Site Development Permit 2301 is a consideration of an application to construct a 3,634 square feet, 3-story, 4-unit building in anticipation of an accessory dwelling unit project at 10912 Walnut Street. The applicant is Siraj Abulhosen, and he said he was gonna be here tonight, but isn't here yet. Mr. Abelhosen has submitted a site development permit to construct this building in anticipation of accessory dwelling units, which means that we can't talk about that part tonight, but we can talk about the rest of it. And this is in the R3 zoning district. And the units in the main building will be 2-bedroom, 2-bath units if approved. And the site is mid-block on the east side of Walnut Street between Florista and Catella Avenue. The adjacent properties are developed with multifamily units as well in this zone. And vehicle access for the plans is through the alley on the east side of the property. And for the project, there are 12 parking spaces required for the 4 units. However, the applicant proposed 11 parking spaces, 1 less than the city's requirements. So I noted that in the conditions of approval that he needs to add back the space that he took out of the plans before. And the architecture is demonstrated in the elevations for this. There's one elevation, and that's the garage on the bottom and a storage room, and then on the top is the accessory dwelling unit. Then this is mainly what the subject is tonight. That's the 4-unit building there. And this is the property now. It's an empty property. Doesn't have anything built on it yet. And to me, the pictures are not very appealing for the architecture. So I will leave that up to you, whether you feel like they're up to par or not. But I felt like that at least placing randomly placed ornamental wrought iron window boxes on the front and side elevations might add to it to give a little more definition. This right here, it does have window surrounds, has some rock on the front and stuff like that, but not much else. The roof is standard, everything, it's mainly stucco. And so I was thinking on, at the least, to put the window boxes. And so staff recommends that the Planning Commission in the staff report approves the project, but that is up to you, of course. You could also continue it to next month if you would like and give the applicant an opportunity to do something different, or ask for a resolution of denial or something like that. So the proposed unit complies with the multifamily residential R3 development standards and the city's land use element of the general plan, but it's just barely. So anyway, that concludes my report.
At this time, I'll ask the commissioners if they'd like to have any questions for staff. Commissioner Solficano?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Throughout the staff report, I heard the reference to the ADU, which is an acronym for accessory dwelling unit. My reading and understanding of the city code is that this body, this commission, lacks jurisdiction to condition an ADU. Therefore, if we consider this project tonight, and if we should approve it, we would tacitly approve the ADU. And so therefore, I'm going to make a motion at this point in time that this matter be sent back to the planning department and have it sanitized of any and all references to an ADU. So as a motion on the table to have this sent back to a date certain, possibly the next planning commission meeting. In addition, if my motion receives a second and there is discussion, I would ask the commissioners to limit any discussion we have on the procedural aspects of my motion and not consider or have any discussion regarding the project in the event that that may taint any future ministerial actions regarding the ADU or any discussion or action taken by this commission. So that's my motion. I've tabled it.
I'll second that motion. For purposes of discussion, I had a question about that as well regarding ADU, because it is, we have a caution in here about, at the beginning of our staff report, that we can't consider an ADU. Yet throughout the staff report, there's references to the ADU. In the visual, we have an ADU that I guess we're supposed to ignore. But, so anyway, I'll second it for that, and
Chair?
Yeah.
I would like to,
1
I
second.
would like to refer this to council to see if my position is justified.
Yeah, I'd be happy to assist and provide clarification with that, but before doing so, I would like to add that we have a motion and a second and some discussion on that motion. Before we move forward with that, we need to remember to open the public hearing to see
yeah.
if there's anyone who would like to provide testimony on this item.
Sure.
But to jump back to your question, you are correct that the Planning Commission's purview and jurisdiction pertains to the site development permit review. That's a discretionary process that enables the Planning Commission to look at the proposed 3-story, 4-unit development and any related parking or storage structures. And again, that's a discretionary process, and it allows you to weigh this proposal against codified design standards for multifamily housing and to consider the findings that need to be made in order to move the site development permit. By contrast, the ADU is a ministerial by right approval that cannot be subject to any sort of discretionary review, cannot be considered within the confines of a public hearing, and is only subject to review by the planning director. Again, it's ministerial. So to the extent that you're saying the planning commission lacks jurisdiction to evaluate an ADU or try to impose conditions on a proposed ADU, that's absolutely correct. And the format that's been provided this evening through the applicant makes that exceedingly difficult, because it's a difficult task to disentangle the proposed site development permit components from what we suspect will eventually be an ADU, because our plans are replete with references to an ADU. So I do agree with your assessment, and I think it's appropriate that the planning commission consider solely the site development components and avoid any consideration or review of the ADU aspect.
Okay. So at this time,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, sorry.
I actually have a question for council regarding that, because I saw reference in the summary and things with regard to the ADU. But when you actually look at the site plans, it's not actually listed as an ADU, it's listed as the proposed storage unit and additional garage. So if we are, even if that's gonna be a proposed ADU later on that we aren't gonna be discussing, you take that away, and now we have much larger issues, including the 2 parking spots that storage unit has in it. It would then violate that. So I don't think, as the way it's presented, there's intent to codify it as an ADU at this point, but I'm guessing that the future developments are gonna be a conversion from the storage portion of that complex. Is that correct?
Tom's probably in the best position to answer that, but yeah, there is on the first page of these plans at least
It says
a second story ADU with reference to stairs to an ADU and so forth.
And
Makes it-
a floor plan on the sheets and. it's all-
Yeah, I was looking at the site plan, and it being referred to as the storage, first floor storage garage, and
Yeah, but
Yeah, so
So-
I think if we were left with only that, we would probably be in a better position, but
right.
the remainder of these plats and sheets do call out that ADU use on the property.
So
Okay.
mine would be to add, I don't know if I guess I can't add to his motion, but to come back with secondary plans that don't include the ADU portion. And only have the first floor structure unit,
Right.
with regards to the storage and the garage space. That way, we can rule on our motion without consideration of a possibility of a second story ADU.
And I think that's,
Like
I don't want
that's
to
in the
speak for
motion.
you, but I think that's
That- yeah,
consistent
that-
with what
that-
was
I-
being asked.
Right on.
But again, if we, before acting
Yep.
on that, if we could make sure that there's
Sure.
anyone in the,
So at this time, we'd like to open up open this up to the public to come and speak on this item. You can speak on this item if you'd like to. You don't have to speak on this item. But it's up to you whether you want to speak or not.
So just to clarify, is the main issue here is the ADU, or if you eliminate the ADU, would that be a possibility, or is the main issue is the ADUs adding?
I think what,
This is the property owner, by the way.
yeah, I think what we're saying is that we don't want to have any reference to the ADU on the plans, because it changes the way we're thinking about the project. If we eliminate the ADU references and so forth, then we can consider that without having to worry that we're judging it based on a future ADU.
Okay, and is the parking, you said it's not sufficient either? You have 11 instead of, you need one more parking spot. So if you eliminate the ADU, then you can have a garage for parking then? Is that a possibility, or?
I'm not sure what
So
He's saying if you eliminate the ADU, does that now qualify for the correct amount of parking? Was the ADU considered for
No.
part of the parking?
No.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's up for discussion, the parking, you know what I mean? That, we could be discussing that when we discuss the item, you know what I mean? As far as, do you need that parking spot? Do you not need that parking spot? I know it's per code, we do, but you can obviously, and you can ask for anything, you know what I mean, on the plans that you want to
Okay.
differ from that, you know what I mean? It's up to the commission to decide whether we want to do that or not. But I think what the problem right now is that we have these references to the ADU on there, and it's changing the way we're looking at this project, and we'd rather not have the ADU on there.
Okay.
when we look at the project.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Not seeing anybody else wanting to speak, I'll bring it back to the commission. We do have a motion and a second. So we can, all those in favor of that motion and second?
Could we just clarify what the motion's gonna include since
Okay.
My motion was to send this back to the planning department and have the applicant sanitize the proposed project and remove any references, and all references to the ADU. Bring it back solely with the multifamily unit, any accessory units within our jurisdiction, including parking, community spaces, and things of that nature. Anything within our jurisdiction.
And through the chair, if I may just ask for a clarification, is part of that motion to continue to the next regular meeting of the planning commission or to table it?
To continue to the next regular
you.
meeting of the planning commission.
Okay.
Should we give them opportunity, since the next regular meeting is a month away, to redevelop plans? I don't know if that'll be long enough.
That's what we
I
wanted
think,
to do.
I think the problem is we don't want to discuss it, you know what I mean? We don't want to speak to it
Okay.
until we,
I just didn't know if it wanted to be continued to a later date, or if you want to just give them a quick 30 days to try to turn it
My
around.
motion is for the 30-day next
Okay.
planning commission.
yeah.
You know, it's been pushed so many months. Is it possible to submit it earlier than a month? We've been doing like this since July, everything month to month to month.
I-
Is there a way to do it earlier?
I think we're going to be meeting earlier in November anyways because of the holiday. But
We don't-
we have- I don't think
we
we
don't-
haven't decided that date yet, right?
Correct. That was gonna be
Yeah.
part of our department reports. but there's
Okay,
a
yeah.
Possibility that we'll have to consider the actual date beyond
Yeah.
just November.
So we'll discuss the date later at this meeting, but it's I'm gonna guess it's most likely gonna be earlier than our normal meeting.
We don't know.
Maybe not.
We don't
We
know.
don't
We
know.
can't say that with
Okay.
certainty. But I understand what you're saying, so after tonight's meeting, we'll have more clarity as to when that will be. But yes, you can always make the correction, submit sooner, but when you have to present it to the next commission meeting, it's all dependent on the next scheduled meeting that we'll have. And then Tom will provide you with that date.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that motion passes.
Are we allowed to discuss other portions of that? Because that was just regarding the ADU, but with regards to the plans and the aesthetics of the property, now that we,
No.
I think we'd prefer not to, I think.
Yeah, we don't talk about it.
okay,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a box.
Wait till it's clean.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking, since they're going to redraft plans, it'd be nice to have those included as well,
I hear you. I hear you.
and I'm sure he would
You
appreciate.
could probably talk to Tom, right? Would that be?
Okay.
Next time.
We'll move on to discussion items. Do we have any discussion items?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Chair Lowen, members of the planning commission.
We have 8A.
Do we have?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a discussion of electric vehicle charging stations. Commissioner Gross asked
Oh, wow.
for staff to go back to
I'm on 7.
talk to the fire department and find out what their opinions on the electric vehicle stations are. And they told me they don't require that they're submitted. They only care about health, safety, those kinds of issues. But they said they do, if it's in a parking space, they do not consider it a hazard, that's what they're designed for, and they are fine as long as they're in a legally marked parking space. So, yeah, they didn't have much to say on that. Yeah, and it's in your report. too,
Yes,
what
I
they
read
said.
that, thank
Yeah.
you. I'm just concerned, I am concerned for safety and their access, and hopefully that, maybe that'll even give them something to think about and talk with legislatures to make sure. I noticed a comment about fire hydrants, and we already have a red zone, but it could be a different way that even on access coming around it. So something should just be from their standpoint to talk to legislators, not ours. But yeah, I just wanna make sure people are safe and that we don't end up putting things that block their access or any emergency access to a building.
So that concludes my report.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, received and filed. Items from the Development Services Department.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I was gonna say Cho. Chair Lowe, and members of the Planning Commission. But we do have a number of items that we'd like to report on. First item is you see in front of you are the Rosenberg's Rules of Order. At the request by one of our planning commissioners to bring this forward at our next meeting. This is solely intended to review, provide information as a refresher on everything as it applies under the rules. Now, understand that this is actually a summarized version of the Robert's Rules of Order, which is a much larger file, but this pretty much encompasses everything from etiquette to communication, following our chair whenever it's someone's turn to speak, or if there's items from the public that we want to welcome. This covers all of that. So this is for you to keep. Not going to torture you and go line by line tonight and do storytelling, but it is intended as a reference and as a guide, as a reminder. This was also presented to the Traffic Commission, so it's not just Planning Commission, and it's going to be covered at, if it hasn't already, at the Parks and Recreation Cultural Commission as well. So it's an educational reminder on what we need to follow when we're up here during our public meetings. The next is Commissioner Polos. As you have them, our Department Secretary Gabby will be taking your photos after the meeting. And if unfortunately unable to take your photo, she'll be happy to coordinate another day where you can come in and take those photos here in the chambers. It'll be up here at the dais. And what we'd also like to, we would have liked to have had like a group picture of the commission, but for now we'll do individual photos tonight. Okay? And part of the reason is we want to also update our website. So we currently don't have Commissioner Zelmer's photo up there. We want to make sure it's up and everything's.
Everyone's been waiting for that.
Here.
But
Yeah, I'm getting lots of.
I got a nice I could stand in the back and you guys can cover me.
So, like I said, Department Secretary Gabby will be happy to coordinate that for the next go around. We would like to get that sooner than later though, and I'll get into our November, what would be our normally typical November Planning Commission meeting. We'd like to discuss that tonight to see if we want to meet in November, go dark in November, meet in December. So part of the thought process was that we go dark in November because that's the week of Thanksgiving. We can certainly bump it up, or we can just go dark in November and meet at the early part of December. Initially, internally, we were thinking that first week of December, if we did not meet in November. One of the dates that seems to be good on our calendar would be Tuesday, December 5th, assuming that we don't meet in November. But if you'd like to meet next month, we can discuss that, of course, at this time.
I'm up for anything.
I like the 5th.
I like the 5th,
Okay.
unless you're stacked up with cases, but if not, go to the 5th.
And that gives the applicant that was just in here,
More time.
and
talk to
I
you.
think adequate time, then we're not rushing him if we
Right.
do it earlier, and so we can be the normal accommodating people that we are.
I won't be.
Yeah.
No, I got a musical performance.
Okay, I think unless anybody else has any.
5th work for you?
I might be out of town, but I may be out of town. I have to do some traveling for work, but that's all right, yeah, I'll try to be here.
Are you good?
I mean, I know I'm around that week of Thanksgiving, which,
So,
One, two, three, four, 5 of us are good. We know 5 of us are good, so.
Does he have an alternate date that would work for all?
I mean, I'd say just push it to November 15th, the week before, but I unfortunately, the 5th just doesn't work for me. I just have my daughter's musical performance, but you guys don't need
Oh.
me, so.
We might have 2 people gone, so, right?
no, I think I'll be, I'll make it happen. I can make it work.
Fortunately, I'm good with any date, so.
of course, Ms. Scolte's not here tonight, but we'll have to.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. At least if we have 4 or 5, you know what I mean? If we know we have 4 or 5 that are good with that date, but so we can
That's, and
certainly
that's
go.
the only one we'll have in December is what you're saying.
Correct.
I can do the 15th.
It doesn't have to be on a Wednesday.
So that's my point. So for this one, it would be a Tuesday,
Okay.
but normally we meet on Wednesday, but yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
In this situation.
Obviously, I'm not looking at my calendar.
Well, not to muddy the water too much.
7 o'clock.
Well, my question is,
I proposed an earlier time and I was shut down.
we're gonna have to do the same thing in December. So my proposal would be do November 15th and then December 15th or something like that, move them both up. Because otherwise you're gonna have,
Well-
commission meeting December 5th and then 2 weeks later.
That's another alternative, is if we meet in December and there's no reason to meet in December, we can go dark in December, reconvene in January. So that is another alternative.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's up, it's, again, not necessarily a, we don't have to make a motion on this. We just
Yeah.
thinking out loud of dates that we can properly notice, if we need to cancel in November or reschedule. So
Yeah.
at this point, it would be, the idea would be to, sounds like to consider maybe November, meeting in November, and then canceling in December.
I can do the 15th of November.
I can't.
14,
Well, I can't do the 14th.
21?
Wait,
What about 20?
wait.
We may not be at the right time to notice if we need to
Yeah,
change that.
If we did November 15th, that'd be cutting it close, but
'Cause we
we
have to
don't.
do-
We have one that will probably come in for December, the 5th, if would have time to notice that one.
It sounds like that's preferred.
I'm flexible, so I'll leave it at that.
Going back to Tuesday, December 5th.
Well, if
Okay.
he said I'm sorry, if he said he couldn't do it on the 5th, is this normal Wednesday timeframe, is that an issue for?
You mean the 6th?
Yeah, instead, like, since we normally meet on Wednesdays, I'm just asking.
I could do it
No,
at
we
6.
need to, oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do
I'm getting
6th then.
confused where I'm at.
Is the 6th another commission meeting?
That's
That's my only concern.
Yeah, let's see, that's the first week. It would be not, traffic commission's second week?
Second Wednesday, but it's possible that they might be changing it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, why don't we
but
take
if
it
we get
before
to
they
change
do?
it
Yeah,
first.
we'll take it before
Let's take it before they do then. Let's take it.
Right.
If it's open, let's take it.
Not
Okay.
working for
6th.
me.
6th?
Unless
So
they-
Wednesday, December 6th?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
that works.
Yep.
And that way,
Oh, okay, so that does
because-
not,
because-
I'll wear my
sorry.
pull-up.
That does
because we
not-
do need you.
We need you.
Can we do it for that and then change, can we just add that if that's not available, we could do a different date?
I think
Or we have to do that?
at this point, would it be appropriate just to work through the department and get
Yeah.
some sort of polling through email and, because
Fine.
it seems like we're getting a lot of input and a lot of different possibilities,
Well,
so.
I think the
Six
6th
is-
I think December
I think the
6th.
6th is good if it's good for you
Work good
guys.
for us if you've got it. then
I'm just worried about there being a conflict on December 6th. If there is, then what happens?
I can tell you I have a standing meeting on the 6th that
Okay.
unless
we don't
they
need you
go
here.
dark. That's up to you. It's your decision to make.
For our secretary's sanity, we'll
On Wednesday the
reconvene
6th.
internally.
Parks and
Propose.
Rec is Wednesday the 6th.
Yeah, so we'll,
Okay.
that's not gonna be an option. So
7th.
internally, we'll
about
discuss,
this-
we'll
how about-
communicate in an email.
Is the first week of
If it's
December
at
good?
7, I could leave a performance early. Let's go. I'll be here.
On
Let's
the
do it the
5th.
5th.
5th?
Everybody was good with the 5th, just do it the 5th.
As long as we have enough people, then.
Yeah.
All right.
If I gotta leave a first grader's recital early,
Right. No, you can always come late.
not too
You
worried.
can always come in. You can always come in.
Yeah.
All right.
At 6 PM, you guys?
Yeah.
No, 7.
7.
7.
Yeah, later better.
Yeah.
Put that in here.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going with December 5th at 7 o'clock.
I have a water pump.
Okay, so the next items, so we have the resident permit parking and street sweeping survey that's launched. So we'd love to have your participation, your support in communicating with friends, family, neighbors. It's going to be, it just launched this week, and it's gonna be live through January, so there's ample time. We just communicated through social media, email blasts. You'll see an ad in the paper pretty soon. You're gonna receive a door hanger at your doorstep, and then additional communication coming forward. So just communicating that it's been, it's active, it's open. It's pretty quick, about 10 questions more or less. So we'd love to have your participation in that. Another notice is Revive LoSal is the grant program that is intended for businesses and commercial establishments in town that just got approved through the city council on Monday. So it's essentially a reimbursement opportunity to have facade improvements here in Los Alamitos for any business that's interested, whether it be repair, windows, signage. There is criteria, there are specific guidelines. You have to be a City of Los Alamitos business. But part of the reason and the benefit for this is that it'll improve the facade of an establishment. It'll create a better experience for consumers, customers to come through the doors. A perfect example that wasn't part of this, unfortunately, but did some sort of improvement that drastically looks different is Pacey's Kitchen. And they have that new sign that's right in front of their store. So just little things like that will go such a long way to not only attract, but also please the experience there. And it's 50-50% basically. So for every contribution that the restaurant, I'm using a restaurant as an example, contributes to that, they would get potentially reimbursed 50% of that cost. So there's additional guidelines. There's a lot of criteria to it. That'll be coming forward in the coming months. So now that we have council's blessing, we're working internally on how we're gonna promote that outreach, encourage people participating in that. So it's gonna be good for about a year. It's first come, first serve. Again, making sure that you qualify. But if you have a business of interest, someone that is looking to do improvements, it might be in their best interest to hold off until the new year, where we anticipate that that'll be live. And if you have any questions about that program, it does go through our department. It does go through economic development. I'll be your point of contact for that if there's questions that come along the way. And I believe the last thing here, but I'd like to introduce you to one of our staff, admin intern for the Development Services Department. It's a long name, so I wouldn't want to butcher it, but it's Taylor Von Jaroshka Pole. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. But Taylor just recently came from Recreation, and she's now assisting us in Development Services, where she's going to be taking on a few little projects. Part of it is resume building, experience building. She has interest in city government. And so that's one way, one of the nice ways that we can work collaboratively with other departments to draw interest from internal staff that are just trying to get experience and see what other types of departments do. So it's just started about a couple weeks ago maybe. And so she's here tonight just to, for one, introduction, but to see how the Planning Commission goes. So just wanted to make sure that you knew that she was here.
Cool.
All right. That's pretty much all I have as far as reports. I don't know if there's anything, Tom.
No other reports.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner reports.
I have a question regarding neon signs. I've noticed a lot of neon signs going up in businesses, not just open signs, but flashing signs and, you know, things like that. Do we have anything presently to restrict those or limit those? I've just have recently noticed a lot more going up.
Yeah, neon signs we changed a couple of years ago to allow neon signs. Now, flashing signs, are you talking about like an all? Is that what you mean?
No, so they're neon signs, but they flash, they're LED
they
flashing
flicker?
a bunch of different, they're flicking. And
Oh,
it's
LED ones.
LED, you
Yes,
know.
that we do have codes on that and how long. They have to keep them up for a certain period of time. If they are flashing, you can call us and explain it. We'll have the code enforcement go out and look and measure the times and stuff like that. And if they're flashing, they're not supposed to do that because it's distracting to cars.
Yeah, and that's why I've noticed it. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Is there, well, after the meeting?
Yeah.
Dylan. Okay.
We had trunk or treat Saturday night, really big turnout for anybody who was there. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time. I always do though. I know we had over 2,000 bags of candy to give out. We had some left, but the kids, we had a line the continuous time it was open for us. So that was really nice. And then don't forget Winter Wonderland's coming up in December. Come and see what we're gonna look like then.
That's the second, right?
Yes, it is. It's Saturday, December 2nd. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
4:30-ish.
On Pine Street.
Yep.
And it'll be really nice. It's great every year, but we change our theme every year for what we do.
I'm gonna request to put up a temporary sign to advertise my business.
There you go.
Commissioner Andretti, anything?
Got nothing.
Commissioner DeBolt?
One thing, it's regarding, the large sets of plans, okay, that we get. I requested, we're getting the, now, this will open it back up to Irving here too, so, when I get done, because he and I have talked, so, I like the large set. When I'm, especially on the development projects, okay, I go through, I can go through the data on the computer, which is fine, okay? The handouts are too small, you can't read them, okay? You can't read and we can't get all the information that's on these large sheets here, and there's actually more information that we can't get on the reduced size. And so I know that there's an attempt to save on paper. I mean, historically, we've gotten these on a lot of projects, and on a lot of them, in my opinion, it's a waste of paper. I mean, we don't, but when it comes to the projects like this, the larger development projects, I like to be able to get it, okay? And I don't know if anybody else shares that. I can look at the color on the computer, but at the same time, and I can look at I can expand them on the computer, but if I want to sit down and just lay it out and then go through it, at times I do check the measurements. I mean, I get a little anal on some of this stuff, especially if something piques my interest, then like I'll check the math, and like on the site plan, you can't tell it because you can't read the numbers, but if you add up the numbers, it's larger than the lot size. Okay, so while the drawing might make it fit, and it all looks like it fits, but when you add the numbers up, footage exceeds the width of the lot. Now, we're only talking an inch. We're not talking, this is minor. It's not like, they're, so, but we've had projects in the past where it looked like everything fit until you put a scale on it, and that 5 foot that they're saying is 5 foot wasn't 5 feet, it was only 4 feet. And when you're tight, especially like, on some of these projects, they are tight, and you're fighting for every inch. You have a 5 foot setback, and you have, let's say you had a garage, we had a garage space sitting next to it, which was supposed to be 10 feet, and, well, they encroached in the setback a foot in order to make it work. Well, can't do that. And some of that, we pick up, I mean, I don't know how much detail the staff goes through all this stuff. Maybe that stuff gets caught down the road, once it gets past us. But in any event, I'm not saying on every project I like to get it, but if I need it, I'd like to be able to request it and get it. Now, I know that now creates a problem for the city because you don't have the copiers and stuff like that. So I'm just, but if it means having the applicant, generate enough extra sets as part of their application process, I know maybe they used to do that, maybe they don't do it now, I don't know. But, that's when to do it, and so that and it doesn't necessarily have to be one for everybody. I mean, it can be a few extra sets or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm throwing it out to you just so that I don't, and I'm not saying it's an impossible thing that you can't do it without it, but it kind of makes it easier, at least for me. I don't know anybody else, but,
I like that.
Mike?
so, huh? Yeah, so go ahead, I'll that's I'll leave it up to.
So yes, as Commissioner DeBolt mentioned, we spoke, and that explains the email that was sent out to the commission. What we are prepared to do internally is provide 11 by 17 because that's the maximum size that we have for our printer. To Commissioner DeBolt's point, it's tiny. The print's tiny. The benefit of the digital PDF copies that are provided as part of the agenda packets is that you can manipulate the size and zoom in, but to your credit, you can identify certain specs much greater on paper than you can perhaps on screen. What we can do and what we did in this situation is we can request it through the applicant to provide a specific set of plans, but it's not anything that we can hold over their head and say, you have to do it, because ultimately, through the permit center process that we now have implemented in our department, where an applicant can submit and apply for a plan online, it gives them the benefit of a zip file that has these documents, and there are several pages, and so ultimately, we are trying to go through this process that's a lot more, not just environmentally friendly, but efficient in terms of paper waste and cost. But what we can do is, initially, as something is agendized, that's gonna come to the planning commission, if you feel the need to have an actual set, physical set, we can then request it through the applicant, and that should provide hopefully enough notice and time for them to basically say, yeah, I'm willing to do that, and then they provide it to us, which in this case is what was done. Not the perfect answer, I'll admit, but it's the one that we currently have that we can offer. But what we can do is, ahead of every meeting, if there is a need for printed copies, we can make sure that that gets delivered. But a lot of it is intended to be mobile, digital these days.
So I think we just work with Gabby on that.
Just work through me, please, yeah. Yeah, you can obviously inquire through Gabby on anything that may come up, but anything of a special request, yeah, just feel free to communicate. You can call me, you can email me.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Then I will adjourn the meeting to December 5th at 7 PM.
Yes.
Good?
Yep, hit it.
Good.
Yeah.